Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching Welcome to Plathville. Let's get to the show.
Yeah.
And modeling.
How'd you hear about modeling?
I have so many people that whenever you post something on social media, they screenshot it and send it to me.
Like who?
Just a bunch of people. So, I mean, I always know what you're up to.
It's so terrible. So the mom is presumably just checking in with her son and saying, oh, are you modeling? And Micah is like, how'd you find out about that? How do you know about that? And that tells me that there's been a lot of communication that the mom really doesn't like that sort of stuff. I don't know. Or at the very least, that's how Micah feels about it, is really trying to hide that from the mom. And then Micah says, how'd you find out about that? And mom says, oh, I have lots of people who are essentially spying on you for me. There's just so many other ways to talk about it, right? Like, okay, son, I don't want to make it seem like I'm spying on you, but some of my friends, they're on social media and they're interested in you and they follow you and they see stuff and they send me stuff. I don't want to make it seem like I'm being creepy or that I'm following you. I'm just interested in my son and I'm really happy that you seem to be doing really well in that. There's a different way to communicate it other than the way that the mom just did. And I wonder if the mom means it to be that way or if it just comes out that way. That's what I would want to know from the mom. I would stop the mom here and I'd be like, so mom, on one hand, I see you being interested in Micah. On the other hand, it kind of seems like you're spying on him and that you might even be sending a message in this moment that you disapprove of what he's doing. Which one are you trying to communicate here? And we would talk explicitly about these sorts of things. There's a lot of family, if not all, family communication, and in couples as well. It's very passive, meaning that what we're really trying to say to the other person is not in the language or in the words that we're using. It's in the subtext of the words. So the mom seems to have some subtext here. At least Micah is receiving it that way, and I would want to make that more explicit.
So, I mean, I always know what you're up to. I know you have a boyfriend.
You have a boyfriend?
I don't want to talk about that.
Now's not the time.
No, it's not a good time.
All right.
So I don't know what's happening right now, but on the surface, at least the dad is trying to be jovial and courteous to Mariah about her having a boyfriend. He wants to be a dad and wants to be interested and is interested. And then Mariah's like, I don't want to talk about that right now. So is Mariah justified in that or not? I don't know. I don't have enough data. I could see it going either direction. There's probably at least some justification for what Mariah is doing right now. But again, as a family therapist, I have seen some very strange behavior from teenagers before that when the teenager grows up to be 25, they look back and they're mortified at the way they treated their parents. Yeah, it's not uncommon for a 25-year-old or a 35-year-old to look back at their teenage years and say, yeah, I mean, some of the snottiness was probably justified, but 90% of the snottiness that I gave my parents was not justified. I just was insecure. I didn't know who I was yet. And I wonder if Mariah is in those shoes. I don't know. So there's just no way for me to know given what I've seen thus far.
So what else? And so we know Micah's doing his thing. And Mariah, you're doing your thing, which is the gym.
Working a lot at the auto shop and the gym. I quit the other job because that and school was a lot. And I was just pushing school off, so yeah.
So this conversation is similar to the conversations we saw last season where they're talking, which is great, but it's such a failure of what they really need in this moment. What I would try to get the parents to do here is let's talk explicitly about acceptance and love. Parents, do you accept your children for who they are? You don't have to accept everything they're doing. You don't have to say, yay, I'm glad my kids are doing this and that. But do you love them? Is it unconditional? Because I would hope that the parents would say, yes, I do unconditionally love my children. And then I would say, okay, convince your kids that you unconditionally love them? Because I think that's the central question that's happening here. And unless they address that very explicitly, I think the kids are just going to walk away going, yep, our parents are jerk faces and we're going to continue to reject them. We're going to continue to try to pull our younger siblings out of the house because our parents are jerk faces. The parents are going to be bewildered as to why they're being treated this way, and future bad things are going to happen.
You gonna go like to a 2-year college, 4-year college?
I want to eventually, but I'm not sure that y'all realize how much work there will be beforehand to prepare myself for that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not like I can go from being homeschooled to college like that, you know.
Yeah, you'll have to do some gearing up, right?
So is Mariah in high school? Because she's still 17. And I'm going to take a guess and say that she doesn't have her diploma yet in terms of homeschooling. I don't know. Maybe she does. But I'm wondering, is she in high school?
Like, I would say that's my biggest frustration with how we were raised. The education was a huge preparation that we didn't get. Why didn't y'all prepare us more?
Okay, this is great. We're getting down to brass tacks. Micah is saying, my problem with you is that you didn't prepare us, that your education system was not good for me. And let's see how the mom responds.
I gave you schoolwork, you didn't do it. Looking back at Ethan and Micah and Mariah, we've seen things that we wish we had done differently, and so we're changing those. The mistake that I made with Ethan and Micah is letting them go work when they didn't have their schoolwork done. So I told Lydia and Isaac, you're doing your schoolwork. And, you know, just I really laid down the law about that.
Okay. When I hear stuff like that, I think, oh, you know, parents, they learn, they know all the specifics and the details. But again, this central question of, do the children feel loved unconditionally? Do they feel acceptable to you, given all of their personality traits? I think that's the central question here.
You took the 12th grade standardized test and you scored in the 95th percentile. I mean, I don't see that we did a really, really horrible job.
None of us have a diploma. We all have to get our GEDs if we're going to do anything with our lives. That's huge.
Okay, so they're getting their GEDs. All right. And I'm guessing they feel that's insufficient. GEDs are fine. A GED can go a long way. I don't know the specifics on the pros and cons of a GED, but I know a lot of people who have a GED and do just fine.
Added on top of moving out on your own when you don't know the real world.
I feel like as a parent, your number one priority is to see your kids succeed you, and you do your best to help them get further than you did in life. And that wasn't the case growing up.
So if I was here, I would honor Micah's complaint and I would engineer an apology from the parents. The parents don't have to say that they're terrible parents, but they could say, okay, you know what? I'm hearing from you that you wish we would have done something different. And I could tell you all the reasons why we parented you in the way that we did, but it seems that you're upset. And I'm really sorry for that. There's no rule book for parenting, and we were really trying our best to raise you in a way that would make you happy. And I'm hearing from you that it didn't work for you, and that just breaks my heart, and I'm really sorry. And I'm glad you told me, and I just live and learn, and I hope that you forgive me. Something along those lines could get the ball rolling of, bridging this gap and ending the conflict. But I don't think the mom really notices those kinds of things. And again, we have to remember that the mom, according to her, grew up with a single mom as an only child. Mom was an alcoholic, and I'm guessing the mom really had to take care, that Kim really had to take care of the mom a lot, and wasn't given attunement, wasn't given a chance to complain, wasn't given a chance to be a kid, wasn't given a chance to be free and to feel like she has worth in the world. And so when you're raised that way, sometimes you raise your kids that way too.
But then again, it's kind of hard to prepare your kids for the modern world when you're trying to keep them from the modern world.
I don't think y'all know how that feels and how hard that is. It's like it's just hard to forgive.
I mean, the parents are listening. They could be flipping the table over and saying F you, but they're not. They're listening, so that's on the plus side for sure.
There's a part of you that wants your child to understand, you've did a lot for them. You've done the best that you can. But, we parents don't have it all down. We haven't reached that level of perfection.
Great. Tell your kids that. Tell Micah and Mariah what you're saying. They always do this. In the moment, they fail, and then in the interview, they succeed. So maybe the dad can actually say this to the kids.
You're in the learning phase, right? You're in the learning phase. And that's cool to see. But just be aware out there, there's pitfalls and traps.
There's always that, but you can't live in a bubble. Gotta just learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
But you can also be smart in how you navigate.
Right. So in person, they're just essentially saying, you don't know the big world, you're dumb little kids, and you're going to make big mistakes, and big problems are going to happen, and then you're going to realize that I was right all along. That's essentially what they're saying. And it's such a destructive way of addressing this particular situation. Because especially for Mariah, she's like, yeah, I've heard this a million times. I'm out in the world and I'm doing fine. The world is not a terrible place. It's not as evil as you painted it to be. So it's just awful. And this sets up a situation that if Mariah does have a problem, that she should go to the parents for help. She might not go to them for help because she doesn't want to hear I told you so from them. So this is just furthering the divide, I think.
It hurts to know that we poured ourselves into them to try to give them the best that we could, and it wasn't good enough.
Can you forgive us for our shortcomings, perceived or real?
It depends on.
So it was good until the end. Can you forgive us for our shortcomings? I'm like, yay. And then he's like, perceived or real, intimating, I think they're maybe not real that we have shortcomings. I think you're just seeing us as having shortcomings, but it's a step in the right direction.
On what your version of forgiveness is. If it's acting like nothing ever happened or acting like...
No, I mean...
I guess just like one of the biggest takeaways from this is please give my younger siblings a better chance in the world.
Like, I hope y'all aren't
No, we
too
love you.
upset that...
We love you guys, A father's love is unconditional. So, the door is always open.
Great. Exactly what I was hoping to be communicated. I wonder if the mom can say that. We're starting to see maybe some differences in the way the mom and the dad parent. I would hope that the dad would really demonstrate that unconditional love. We have to remember that they are children. I mean, Micah is technically an adult, but 19, really. So we have to remember that younger people are not expected to be mature people. They're young. You are the parents, and I would have these conversations with parents. So you're supposed to be the one that gives the extension of love. You're the one that showers the younger person with accolades and acceptance. And it's not a two-way street. It's rarely a two-way street ever with kids. Maybe by the time the kid is like 30 years old, maybe 40, maybe 50, then it starts to become a two-way street. But particularly at this age, it has to be one way. So the dad is doing it, he's starting it, but I would hope that the dad would go further with that and really demonstrate and show that the love is unconditional, because I'm really glad that but I will give 2 thumbs up to the dad for saying that, because it was exactly what I was saying. It's great.
You can always stop by. If you need space, hey, that's okay. We'll always love you.
Yeah.
All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.